Hi, I'm Lisa, and this is my partner David. And we love escape rooms, but we also have other hobbies, some separate and some shared. Magic is one of our shared hobbies. We love watching magical performances. We really have come to appreciate them over the years together. In fact, you might have noticed that we've had a lot of magicians at RECON in the past. We've had Neil Patrick Harris and Harrison Greenbaum, Michael Boris, David Kwong, the test subjects from Las Vegas. We've had lots of incredible magicians because there's a lot that escape rooms can learn from magic. If you've ever played an escape room with us, you know that I like word puzzles and David does all the dexterity puzzles. David has a lot of dexterity skills, like lock picking. He's very good at lock picking, but also magic. So today, I'm going to tell you about the principles of magic. And we've got David a nice overhead camera so that he can demonstrate them for you. So today's talk is inspired by magic, and it is what escape rooms can learn from the principles of magic. If you take any activity, any art, any discipline, any skill, take it and push it as far as it has ever been pushed before. Push it into the wildest edge of edges. Then you force it into the realm of real magic. And this Tom Robbins quote really sums up what we've been seeing in escape rooms for the last number of years. We have been seeing magic happen. We have been seeing creators push their ideas to the wildest edge of edges and create something that feels like it couldn't, like it shouldn't really happen. Yet we are experiencing it. This talk is about real magic. And by real magic, I mean performative magic. And by performative magic, I mean not magic at all, because all magic is illusion. Escape rooms are illusions. Escape rooms are creating worlds for adults and children to play in and explore. Escape rooms are giant illusions for us to go and explore and lose ourselves in, for us to experience and take in and enjoy. But they are illusions. Kids are full of imagination, and everything that they imagine feels real. In fact, kids are often afraid of the things that they imagine because their imaginations are so realistic. But as adults, we need a lot more to be able to imagine. We need the sounds, we need the scents, we need the world to feel vibrant to us, for us to be able to imagine a fantasy world. We're about to cover a number of magic effects, and none of this is new. These have been around since before Houdini. But we're going to take a look at about 10 of them. These are the building blocks of magic. There's some debate as to the naming or the grouping, but we're going to cover about 10 magic effects here, which underpin all of the magic that you see. The first is appearance, making something appear. The next is vanish, making something disappear. And with those, we also have transposition, making two or more objects change positions, which is essentially appear and disappear. We see appearance and vanish happen a lot within escape rooms, but often without finesse. But we'll come back to finesse. Transformation and restoration. In transformation, an object changes state or composition. This could be color or shape or another property, maybe form. We don't see this too often in escape rooms. With restoration, we return a broken or damaged object to its proper form. This we see more often. Take, for example, a MacGuffin that has been irreparably damaged, and then throughout the course of gameplay, the players are able to magically restore it to how it was supposed to be so that it could be used to complete its mission. Escape, the one that Houdini is famous for, where a person extracts themselves from a trap unharmed. And this does come up in escape rooms when we need to free an actor or another character, whether they are necessarily physically in the space or otherwise present, and we are there to help rescue them from whatever ill has befallen them. Multiplication. The quantity of an object increases. This is one I would really like to see more of in escape rooms, as there's an incredible joy of watching an object just multiply into so many more of itself than is reasonable for any space. Levitation, defying gravity. No one's ever unhappy watching an object or a person defy the laws of physics. Penetration, when an object passes through another. This is one that we don't often see in escape rooms, and I think it's ripe for exploration. Think of the joy of the impossibility of one object going through another solid object right in front of you in your physical space. Mind reading. This is prediction or mental influence, and it could be mentalism or it could be some type of forced choice where the participant feels like they have free will, but really they don't, and the choice has been forced upon them. Or in some other way, maybe they did make a choice, but the performer has been able to figure out what it is in some miraculous and inconceivable way. This is something that we don't see a lot of in escape rooms, but it is really incredible and powerful and ripe for opportunity. The building blocks of magic are finite, but magic itself is infinite, because these building blocks that we've just talked about can be combined and recombined in new ways, in infinite ways, so that the magic that you watch on every stage, while built from these components, is always different. Magic is infinite, and escape rooms are also infinite. Escape rooms can pull not only from these building blocks of magic, but also from all of the other building blocks that influence escape rooms and are tools in the toolkit to build these worlds and create these fantasies. With magic and with escape rooms, the building blocks are the same from game to game, but it's the method and the execution, it's the finesse that really separates the good from the great. Misdirection is commonly associated with magic. This is directing the audience's attention or the player's attention where you want it, somewhere else from where the action is happening. You can think of this in escape rooms like if you had a cabinet with a maglock that was going to release a panel to drop down, and behind it, something would appear. Appearance. This is fun and exciting, but if the players are watching it, it's not nearly as magical when it happens. Using misdirection right before that happens, a sound can divert the player's attention elsewhere in the room. Misdirection. Now the players are focused elsewhere, the maglock releases, the panel drops, and then when the players look back, that appearance is that much more magical and that much more powerful. Magicians fuss about timing. They fuss about every little detail of timing in a performance. And for execution in an escape room, you also need to be deliberate about timing everywhere that you possibly can. Think about that example that we just talked about where the players are misdirected and then the reveal happens, the appearance. That timing has to be perfect. But then once you have that timing, you have the extra finesse, the sound, the lighting, any other effects around that to make it feel more vivid, to make that reveal that much more dramatic, that much more magical. Preparation. That's something that magicians always have on their side because the audience will underestimate the preparation that went into the performance. Maybe they did really memorize the entire magazine, or maybe it was just the finesse. The audience will never know, and that's part of the wonder of the mystery. Let your players underestimate you. Let them underestimate how much time went into that effect, the lighting, the sound, the timing, all of the hours that you've spent on this build. Let the players underestimate that. They don't need to see it, and it will be that much more magical. The human brain makes so many assumptions all the time, and magicians are always taking advantage of these assumptions to make the impossible feel possible. The human brain, everything it does, everywhere it interacts, it's assuming things about our world, like gravity, or how solid objects will interact with each other. Magicians take advantage of that. And this is something that you can also take advantage of. Magicians strive to have full control over their space, but most magicians have to work with whatever space they're in. Only magicians at the height of their craft have dedicated stages for their performances. This is something that you have an advantage on. You have full control over your space. You are permanently there. You can put the light exactly where you want the light and the speaker exactly where you need the speaker. This is an advantage that you can use. One of the inspirations for this talk was all of the stage magic that we've watched over the years and that we've loved so much. And the best stage magic wasn't a collection of tricks. It wasn't really about being fooled. It was selling a fantasy. It was telling a story. It was taking us as the audience on a journey. That has been the magic that has really inspired us. And it's the same thing in escape rooms. The ones that we have truly loved and that have inspired us have taken us on a journey. Escape rooms lack callbacks because escape rooms suffer from the one and done rule that is an artifact of old escape rooms. Magicians and also many improv performers thrive on callbacks. Callbacks add meaning. They tie things off. They elevate things. They really bring the audience in. We need to get rid of the one and done rule because it comes from a time when escape rooms were full of little fiddly bits. There was stuff everywhere, and there were so many locks and so many keys, and that in order to not have a room and its props be destroyed, we needed to say to players, once you use that key in that lock, it's not going to open any other locks. Please don't jam it into every single lock. But escape room design has evolved since then, and there is such an opportunity for callbacks. Callbacks that will layer meaning, that will transform how an object or a prop is used, that will imbue it with something special. Callbacks are ready for a comeback. So much of magic is about controlling for perspective and framing. It's hard to control for every angle. It's much cheaper and much more feasible to control the frame. One of my favorite escape room examples is the Maze of Hakaina from a company called Komnata Quest that used to operate in Lower Manhattan. And this game is no longer operating. It was closed by the FDNY for fire code violations, which was legitimate. However, for those who did play this game, there was a brilliant perspective moment. You would come out of the maze part of the game into a long hallway. Well, it felt long for New York City standards. It probably wasn't that big. And it would be dark And the only thing available to you would be on one wall, these glowing handprints, 2 for every player in the game. And there was nothing to do but walk over and, of course, put your hands on the handprints. And at that moment, to your left, spikes would come out of the wall and the wall would move towards you, Death Star trash compactor style. You could not miss it, and you were perfectly positioned to experience it. Anyone who played that game remembers that moment. It was a really incredible example of perspective.
So this was all one giant misdirection so that I could give you a talk, or at least half of one, about Magic the Gathering, a game that I love so much and that I think has a lot in common with escape rooms and a lot of things that escape rooms can learn from. I found Magic the Gathering in 1997. I was a lonely kid who was really good at games, not great at meeting new people in new contexts. And at camp, a friend introduced me to this game and it changed my life. What I found as I started to explore Magic was a game that was blending with story and it was inherently social. Does that sound familiar to anybody? When you start playing, the game is really interesting because it's kind of quick to learn, but ridiculously complex to master. I am so far away from mastering it. I will never master it. But there's always new things to explore, new ways to build decks, new ways to play. And then as you're playing and you start engaging with these cards, you can start to feel a story that exists in these pieces of paper and the art that is within them. There's little glimpses of it. And if you scratch beneath that surface, you can find out that there actually is a very robust story. And at the time, the story that was being told was one of 2 brothers. It's called the Brothers' War. And these guys, Urza and Mishra, they were fighting a lot. They were engaged in an epic battle with one another. And I too have a brother. And I could easily imagine myself in an eternal epic war with him at the time. So anyway, this game really enchanted me. It pulled me in on every single level. Now I'm going to explain Magic to you very quickly. All that you need to know is that it is a game put out by a company called Wizards of the Coast. Every couple of months, they put out a new set. Sets have mechanics and aesthetics and stories that are unique to the set, but they're all Magic cards. They all feel and play like Magic cards, not dissimilar from escape rooms. When you go to play and sit down at a table, you are a powerful wizard facing off and against an opponent. You play cards that look a lot like this. This is the only full card I'm going to show you in this whole presentation. You call upon magic from one of 5 different colors. Each one has its own strengths and weaknesses and aesthetics. They just feel different from one another. Once you're playing, you are calling upon the power of different lands in order to cast creatures and spells in an effort to kill your opponent. Bring their life total down to 0. And that's really all that you need to know about Magic. It is a game that famously has a lot of complexity, and that is true. There is a lot of complexity to it. You can even make a deck that is a Turing machine, which was famously done by YouTuber Kyle Hill. You should check it out because it's kind of wild. But most of that complexity is hidden from your typical players. Most people can pick up and start learning this game very swiftly. So, let's talk about what we're actually here for, which is what you, as escape room designers, can learn from Magic the Gathering, a game that has existed for more than 30 years, and the creators of it, they've made mistakes over the years, but they have made a lot of really good choices. And that's what we're going to look at. A few of those, not all of them. The first lesson that I want to explore is that resonance matters. People generally like to very quickly understand what is going on in a situation. And having things that resonate with them is a really good way to do that. Pulling from cultural shorthand, pulling from things that just exist out amongst being a human, grounding your game in that is really effective at creating resonance. But let me help you understand this further by digging into the aesthetics of resonance. So, right now you are looking at a soldier. This is a very D&D-esque soldier. In fact, it is from a Dungeons and Dragons set. If you were to go and put a soldier into different environments, what would they look like? For example, if you were to put a soldier into a gothic horror set, it might look like this. Or a set that is inspired by Greek myth, might look something like this. Or a set that is inspired by dynastic China. How about a set filled with tiny, adorable little animal critters inspired by works like Redwall? That's another soldier. Finally, what about a soldier from a sci-fi space opera inspired by things like Dune and Star Wars? Each and every one of these soldiers is a soldier, and you can look at them and you can get that. You can feel that. You know that. But the way that they are presented, the way that they are designed, communicates so much. And this is where you can start to build resonance with people. You can build worlds for them with minor shifts in aesthetics in the grand scheme of things. Let's talk about how you can build worlds by combining it with game mechanics. One of the earliest cards that just really captured my imagination when I was a young Magic player was a card called False Prophet. This is the art from it. And you can see on this is a person. In the game, he's a creature. You can attack your opponents with him. He's got these people who are kind of following him up this cliff. When this creature dies, when this false prophet dies, every other creature on the board dies with him. At the bottom of many Magic cards, there's flavor text. The one on this card reads, "You lived for Sarah's love. Will you not die for it?" Now, you, unless you're a Magic player, don't know who Sarah is, but you can easily conclude that this is a person, a being, an entity that people revere. And it is clear that this man is manipulating her image to commit mass murder. Let's take another example to illustrate this point. Right now, you are looking at a card from a set that was Gothic horror. You're looking at a creature who is a researcher, a scientist. He's studying bugs. Weak creature. But if you meet certain criteria, you can flip this card over, revealing a much more powerful, grotesque insect creature that it transformed itself into. This is evoking things like The Fly or Kafka's The Metamorphosis. And in doing so, it is playing with all sorts of mechanics that involve transformation, which is what they did with this set. The flavor of your game matters. Earlier, I mentioned to you that guy named Urza who was at war with his brother. That war ended when he literally blew up the world using powerful magic. He wasn't a great guy. He was our protagonist for a long time, but not a really good guy. There are lots of effects in Magic that will clear the board, that will destroy everything. And the ones that are so interesting to me are the ones that evoke something really powerful. And this one does that in spades. But one of the things that Magic designers are very conscious of is that gameplay has to be more important than flavor because they are making a game. It has to be fun. It has to play well. And that is an important thing to keep in mind. It is important to sacrifice flavor in favor of good gameplay if you have to make a choice. But on the flip side, flavor can justify almost anything. So again, I was mentioning that guy Urza, he blew up the world. The powerful magic that he used was drawn from a bowl called a Silex. Why was it a bowl? Well, somebody in 1993 or 4 decided that that's what it was, and that's what it was. Wizards of the Coast leaned into it. In fact, magical bowls that can blow things up have come up more than once over the years. They leaned into it, they owned it, they made it work, and it kind of works. Another lesson that you can learn from Magic is that you have to ship product if you want to have a thriving business and a community of people who are excited to keep coming back and playing with that product. They ship regularly. So many different sets with so many different cards, so many different mechanics, so much art. And the thing that's crazy to me is that, to the best of my knowledge, they have missed like 2 release dates on major products in the history of the game. And one of them was during the pandemic. So I think they get a pass on that. One of the ways that they do that is by having what they refer to as a design skeleton. This is a framework for a set. It's a default. It is basically just a magic set. It has all of the different types of creatures, all the different types of spells, all of the common stuff that you want in the right proportions for it to play well. But then what they do when they start to figure out what they want to design, what they want an individual set to be, they start to tweak that and morph it and figure out what new mechanics they put in, what they take out, and how they shape it. An example of this is if you want to have a set that feels aggressive and fast. Maybe there's lots of creatures that come out early and it's just kind of a lot on board very quickly. The rounds don't last long. You can do that by removing some of the top end and putting a lot more small effects that take the board by storm. Similarly, you can make a set that feels very, very different by removing some of those small creatures and some of those smaller effects and having everything build up to big, gargantuan creatures and effects that will do powerful things in a late game that will just leave everybody blown away. Ultimately, Magic is a different game to different people. There are so many different ways that you can play Magic. By that, I mean there are different formats. Some of them are 40 card or 60 card or 100 card formats. Those are the sizes of the decks. Some allow you to play with duplicates of cards. Some require you to have every single card be unique. Some are casual and some are competitive. Each choice that goes into that completely changes the way that it feels to be playing Magic. And that's a really cool thing. But it's also something that escape rooms do. And the next session on this stage is Yana Erbis's talk on European horror. And that talk is going to show you a number of different ways to play escape rooms that feel very different from the norm, and they're very popular. Be sure to check that out. Now, one more fun little fact I'm going to share with you about Magic is that the main characters of the game are called planeswalkers, and there are a lot of them. And they have incredible power, they're really well designed, they're cool characters in their own rights. And also, the individual who is playing is also a planeswalker. I'm a planeswalker. One of the things that blew me away was a few years ago, Magic's lead designer released some information that they had conducted a massive study of Magic players and found that upwards of 75% of Magic players did not know what a planeswalker was. That means that 75% or more of Magic players don't know who the main characters are or that they are in fact one of these while they are playing. And the Magic community was pretty bewildered by that stat. But as an escape room person, I'm not shocked by that. Most people who play most games do so casually. Most escape room players have no idea what the dome is. And that is fine. There's a lot of different casual ways to enjoy this. But the other thing that's important to note is that 25% or so of diehard players, they make up a very large amount of the sales of Magic cards. They are also making up a lot of the evangelizing. They're bringing in new players. And this is all very, very true of escape rooms. There is a smaller amount of diehards, but those people are buying a disproportionate amount of games, and they bring a disproportionate amount of new people into the awareness of this hobby. Which brings me to onboarding. Intuitive rules are the best rules. Magic is, as I said, famously complicated, and there's some truth to it. The comprehensive rulebook is 304 pages as of when I am delivering this talk. It is always getting larger. Most Magic players have never read that rulebook. Mostly it is for judges. And even amongst judges, only the top level judges have like full comprehensive understanding of the comprehensive rulebook. Mostly you can learn how to play this game very quickly, and the cards themselves explain themselves. It's a meme in the Magic world. Reading the card explains the card. And it is broadly speaking true. There are edge cases. But the bottom line here is that it is best for your game to feel and function intuitively. And when Magic has mechanics that are not working intuitively, they try to push them out of the game as much as possible. This can certainly apply to your rules, but also your game design. One of the things that I am very big on is thinking through what each object in your space wants you to be doing with it. If you have a big ship's wheel on a pirate ship, that thing should not be screwed in place. It should move. You should be able to spin it. You should be able to do something cool with it, because that's what people want. And if it doesn't move, they're going to spin it anyway, and eventually they're just going to break it. So build your games to feel more intuitive, and people will have more fun with it. Your game is going to have to evolve. Magic has evolved so much over my lifetime. It's kind of crazy. And anytime they make a change, there are people who complain about it. But the game lives on. It's a joke that Magic is going to die over insert decision made by Wizards of the Coast. And yet it is still here. This game was supposed to be a fad, just like escape rooms. It's 11 years later for me and Lisa here, and we're still here. This stuff is still thriving. I don't know what to tell you other than if you keep on evolving, if you keep on making great games, people will continue to play them. Make them accessible, make them fun, and you're going to find an audience. This segment of this talk has been heavily inspired by a guy named Mark Rosewater, who is the lead designer for Magic the Gathering. Not the only designer, but he is the face of it. He puts out a ton of content, podcasts and articles, and he has a blog called Blogatog where he answers dozens of questions every day from just normal Magic fans. Some of them are good questions. Some of them are really weird questions. Some of them are ludicrously obnoxious or aggressive questions, and he answers all of them with the utmost sincerity. And every once in a while, he drops onto this blog a piece of design knowledge that just makes me stop and really appreciate everything that Magic is doing. And about 4 years ago, I started saving the articles that resonated most with me. And I used a teeny tiny portion of them to make this talk. Ultimately, this game has been timeless for me. It has been a friend that I can come back to and a place where I can find friends. And escape rooms have been that for me for the last 11 years. And I hope that both live on for far past my lifespan. This whole talk was a ruse. Everything about this was a series of deceptions, carefully crafted to tell you a story. A couple stories, really. And there's a lot of truth in it. For me, I really was in love with Magic performance as a kid. And the thing that actually pulled me away from it was finding Magic the Gathering while I was at a sports summer camp that I was miserable at. Magic the Gathering changed my life by giving me something that I definitely was not getting while I was surrounded by a whole bunch of people who were real good at sports. The truth is, though, that this talk wasn't about Magic at all. It wasn't about Magic on the stage, and it wasn't about Magic on the tabletop. This is all about inspiration. This is all about taking the things that inspire you and turning them into your craft, folding them into your craft. I love writing talks. We love delivering talks. But this was a chance to take a couple of things that we really do love and folding them into this other thing that we do for our audience. So many of our favorite escape rooms are doing this. They're blending all sorts of outside inspirations, and in doing so, making something that is unique. Not just unique on its own, but unique as a work. It's the kind of thing that that specific person would make because it was a combination of things that they loved.
So we encourage you to take creative risks from your own inspirations, from your own passions, from the things that you were doing before you were building escape rooms, whether that is from the theater, from writing, from humor, from music, from running a different sort of business in another arena. Pull that in to what you're crafting in escape rooms and do something that no one's ever done before. Do something unusual. Make it tell a story, make it impart a message, make it leave your audience with meaning.
I have to give a special thanks to Harrison Greenbaum, Nathaniel Siegel, and Nate Javier, and also Mark Rosewater, whom I don't know, but has really truly been one of the biggest inspirations for me in all of the work that I have been doing.
And thank you for coming to RECON, meeting other people, and sharing your ideas here. We are Lisa and David, the co-founders of RoomEscapeArtists.com.